Get informed. If you get the general idea, the big picture, what we are looking for is to use this as a tool for us. So learn how to use it, use it on your benefit.
First, I would say do it yourself. Go through, do your own. I made myself a Linguafolio. I went through it. I have studied a little French. I've had some experiences in other countries. I'm still trying to learn Spanish, and thanks to my kids, they're helping me. You know, they just help me all the time. I wouldn't be able to talk to anybody in Spanish if it hadn't been for them. So I had all those experiences, so I made a Linguafolio. It doesn't have a great deal of depth, but it's got some breadth to it anyway. And in going through that experience and then seeing how difficult some of the things I had experienced were, I began to think, hey, you know, I've really done a little more than I thought I have in life. And so having that kind of feeling come out of doing it helped me to kind of bring that feeling to the project. And I think the kids are very sensitive. And I think they picked up on the fact that I thought it was really worthwhile, that I had, you know, had some real faith in it. And they just jumped into it like little kangaroos. I mean, they were great, really. I can't tell you how thrilled I was with it. At first, I thought this is going to be too much for them, but they quickly taught me that they could handle it. So, but for a new teacher, I would say do it yourself first. Then that's going to pretty much tell each individual new to Linguafolio teacher how they need to approach it, because they're going to be the ones that know their kids. And they're going to be the ones that feel that experience. And then it will come to them naturally as to how they want to introduce it. The only one thing I would say is just take it a little at a time. Don't try to do too much at once. And let the kids take it and go and run with it. And be willing to sit back and accept what the kids say about themselves, what they say that they can do. Be willing to accept it. Because I have found that if you say you can do something and you believe you can do it, even if you're wrong, that on down the road you're going to be there. But if you don't say that, you aren't ever going to be there. So I would just say, you know, do it yourself and then feel natural with it and introduce it.
Start small. Don't try to start so big. So, you know, don't pick all your content areas, or if you're, you know, if you're an ESL teacher, then obviously your areas of ESL. But if you're like myself, who's a foreign language teacher, I teach everything in the foreign language. So don't try to use Linguafolio with every content area. Maybe just pick one content area first and then build from there.
Take small steps. It could be overwhelming, but once students know what to do, it takes less time and they will know what to do.
I would have to say start very slowly, because language learning, as is Linguafolio, is a process, and it's baby steps and baby steps and baby steps. If you try to, for example, with a level 1 learner, throw all the language to them at one time and just expect them to seize it and take advantage of it and be fluent within a week, or at a intermediate high proficiency level within a week, you're not being realistic with yourself. And I think that kind of the Linguafolio document itself is kind of akin to that, in that there is a lot there available to the students, but if you throw it all at them the first time they see that document, it's kind of overwhelming. In fact, I have students in French 3 right now with whom I have never introduced parts of the document, because I just want to take baby steps and familiarize them slowly and slowly with it. Now, when I introduce Linguafolio, I tell them there are all these components to it. We're not going to look at all of those today. We're not even going to look at all of those this semester. We're just taking our baby steps. We're wading into the water slowly. And so my big advice for any teacher would just be, decide what it is that you think is most important about the document. For me, I think the biography, the dossier, and the proficiency checklists are, in the beginning, the most important pieces or most meaningful pieces to my students. So those are the only things that they see. Do they see all of the proficiency checklists on the first day? No, because that would scare the pants off of some of my kids. In French 1, we just take a look at novice mid, novice high, novice low, novice mid, novice high. and we say, okay, so here's how we're going to grow throughout French 1, and we come back and we look at it. For those students who want to look ahead, they're absolutely able to. I'm not going to prevent them from doing that, but I'm not going to say, okay, on the first day of French 1, I want us all to look at what the difference is between novice high, intermediate low, intermediate mid. So, because they would be too overwhelmed and too scared, and quite frankly, I think their affective filter would shoot through the roof and they just wouldn't want to perform. So keep it slowly, keep foray into it slowly, keep it simple, keep it honest with them, and don't bring it out all the time. Give the students enough time to grow in between the times that they evaluate themselves throughout the semester, so that they can take ownership and say, hey, look, I did grow. I am getting better in the language.
Some people think it's time consuming, and it really isn't. It's a great process. It helps the kids, they're excited about it. It helps the teachers to see where their kids are at. And it's something that they can take ownership with and take with them from teacher to teacher, especially if they don't have the same French teacher for 1 or 2 years, that they can look back and see what they've done. I think that it's great for the kids, especially when they're in middle school and starting out with 6th grade or starting out 9th grade French 1, to get that exposure to it, especially when they're able to put in their Linguafolio any of the competitions that they've done and they've placed in competitions or French national exams and things like that, that they have an area for that they can actually write that on. So they're actually able to keep track of all their successes in the language, and things that they wouldn't think about when they're in high school if they had French in middle school. But they have it all written down, and they're like, wow, I did well in this, you know. So it's really nice for them. Well, I feel very strongly about the Linguafolio because it is so reflective for me as well as the students. If you take 10 minutes out of your class time, it's very easy to implement into your class. Some people think that it's a process that's going to take a long period of time, but it doesn't have to. It's a very quick process to implement, and then once you're there, it's easy to keep it going.